Insulted, persecuted, accused. Hello and welcome to Some Assembly Required, our podcast here at Waynfleet BIC Church, where we discuss life through the lens of our Anabaptist roots. My name is Julie Adams, and I'm joined by Pastor Renee Kievit this week.
Here I am.
Welcome, Pastor Renee.
I'm back on the right side of the table. I was here last week, but I was in the wrong seat. I feel much better in this seat, and you in that seat. Julie's in the driver's seat.
Yes.
I'm on the passenger side. Oh, dear.
Yes, nice to be back together as we, it's a little bit wild to say, but this is it.
I know.
We're wrapping it up. The Beatitudes this week.
That means the summer is over.
I know.
Which is, I don't know. At the beginning of the summer, I thought, 10 weeks feels like a long time.
Yeah.
The Beatitudes will take forever. And now I'm like, what happened to the Beatitudes?
I know.
It's, what happened to the summer, right? It just...
It flew by. It always does, though.
Yeah.
You know.
At the end, it always feels fast.
Yes. Yeah.
So here we are, and some people, not anyone in our church specifically, but would maybe argue that how did we take 10 weeks for 8 Beatitudes? And we did an intro week, which was like intro to the Beatitudes. But also, some people think there's only 8. Some people argue there's 9. Mm-hmm. It's very contentious. It's hotly
debated.
Well, okay. Maybe not hotly debated, but it was a question that I read quite a few
interesting
commentaries because of the change this week.
Yes.
So all the way up to this week, it's been blessed are the, name the
group
character
of people.
trait. Right,
yes.
Exactly. So the peacemakers, the mourners, the poor in spirit, the
pure in heart. Yeah.
So now it's blessed are you.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually does change. There is some continuity from last week of those blessed are the persecuted. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that this week too. But it kind of expands the category of persecution to those who are insulted and falsely accused or slandered or whatever, however you want to say that. So it does change a little bit. So some theologians say it's actually, no, it's a 9th. It's definitely a 9th because it's a little bit, it's different enough that it's, and the blessing, the reward blessing is different too. So with those two things in mind, we are going to say that there are 9. And if anyone's upset with us, well, we're willing to talk about it. Okay. Because so are a lot of other people who are a lot smarter than I am.
Wow, of all the things to get upset about, I'm not sure this would make my top 10.
Pretty sure it's not that big of a deal. But it is interesting because I thought, okay, here is the closing remarks.
The finisher. Yeah.
The finisher. And then I read in I think it was the Asbury commentary, and they were like, don't think about this 9th one as a closer. And I'm thinking,
okay,
this is interesting. Think about it as this has been the foundation for the rest of the Sermon on the Mount.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, okay, so for the rest of the things that are going to come throughout the Sermon on the Mount, if our posture is poor in heart, if our posture is mourning over our sin, if we are humbled and meek, and if we are working towards peace and all of those things, then as we get to the rest of the Sermon on the Mount, we can actually, I don't want to say accomplish it, but we can actually live into these new things that Jesus is calling us to do.
Right.
And so it was don't think of this as the ending, but just the
transition.
Yeah,
maybe?
the transition into the rest of the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
And so I was okay. This whole thing is the opener. This whole thing is the opening act of the Sermon on the Mount. But really,
the prologue.
Yeah. And what should shape our hearts and minds and souls as we go into the next part, and so I thought, that makes good sense. I liked how that was talked about. But in all honesty, this again, and Mike said this last week, not my favorite beatitude.
No.
I don't mind, being a peacemaker or being considered pure in heart or whatever else. Who wouldn't mind being considered pure in heart?
Eh?
That sounded really boastful of me.
Maybe go back to the meat.
Yes,
no, I'm kidding.
Who wants to be accused and persecuted and slandered against and insulted?
No, that doesn't sound like fun.
For Jesus.
Okay.
For Jesus. And so, man, there's lots of stories in Scripture, and a lot of people in Scripture experienced that kind of persecution. And we looked at the story of Stephen. And Stephen is stoned to death for his bold faith, for living out loud his faith, for preaching, for performing miracles. The passage actually says he's full of God's grace and power. Like, he just is this mighty man of God. And sometimes I might think, okay, so if someone's like so just bold and living out their faith and doing all these great things, why do really terrible things happen to them?
Yeah.
And the answer is because the world is not for us.
Yeah.
The world is not for people who are living out their faith out loud and living for Jesus in sort of overt public ways. And so Stephen he's accused. And in fact, it's in the passage, it says they actually, like, the Jewish opposition to him, like, go around and say, hey, like, you're going to go in and sneaky say this. Like, they literally falsely accuse him of all kinds of evil things that are not true. So, like, slanderous comments.
Yeah.
They insult him. They persecute him with trials, with, I'm sure it was scary kind of persecution. And then in the end, they kill him.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I just think, I said this to Mike last week too, like, we just don't have a clue on some level. No. Living in Canada about that kind of persecution.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, so Ron and Hank have a brother, and I shared this story on Sunday, who worked for Wycliffe Bible Translators.
Oh, okay.
And
interesting.
Yeah, and he very, very, very smart in linguistics, and was living in a country called Eritrea, which is a small little country right on top of Ethiopia. Okay. And a family member of his wife's sort of turned him in or exposed him, or and on some level it wasn't falsely accused him. I mean, it was true. He was doing something that was illegal, and he was put in prison and for a couple of weeks. And so I think that, so stories of persecution like that can feel far away until it's like, okay, that was like my brother-in-law. And then my sister and brother-in-law, I won't say their names, but they work in the Middle East as well, live and work in the Middle East. And my brother-in-law was once taken in to the police station, having to prove that he was legit to be there. And so those moments feel way closer to home in terms of sensing some kind of persecution. And then I was thinking of, like, so how can we relate this to us here though now? Like, have you ever been insulted for, standing up for your faith, or have you ever been slandered or persecuted in some fashion, right? For doing what was right, or and it could be persecution from friends. Yep. And persecution doesn't have to mean stoning to death. No, like it can be an eye roll or a a frustration at your unwillingness to participate in something worldly, like that kind of thing. 100%, yeah, 100%. For sure. So there's a scale, I guess you could say, a scale of persecution where death is certainly the worst in the end. But I think we do live with quite a bit of persecution for standing up for what we believe, for being willing to say or stand out for not doing something. Yeah. I think in business, lots of people try to do shady deals or shifty deals, and if you don't want to go along with them, they're like, fine, you're a Christian, really, like, this is why you won't do this. Like, so I think there are circumstances, situations. Sierra was telling a girl about Jesus once at school, and I think they were in grade 2 or 3, maybe grade 4, and she just got livid with her. You can't talk to me about that, and blah, blah, blah. And Sierra came out, and she's just like, what is that? Like, on some level, at that age still, she assumed, like, everybody just went to church and everybody knew all this stuff, and it was, and so I think there's a variety of ways as kids and adults. I thought of our teenagers, like, if you're coming in or coming out of, like, Crosley for Christ, someone sees you in the hall and eye rolls you or sighs you, or later on says, oh yeah, I saw you were going into there, So I think there's a lot of maybe not littler ways, but ways that we do face some, kinds of persecution, even from friendships, like people who, you said it, like, if you're deciding to not do something that you used to do, and you don't want to party anymore, or you don't want to whatever anymore, and then there's some persecution for that, or I don't know, you and your friend used to go and steal stuff from the drugstore, and now you're like, actually, like I've met Jesus, and I don't want to be like that anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a put down, or there's a loss of relationship.
Oh, I guess you're better than me, or sort of thing.
I'm not hanging out with you. So there is some of that, and I would love to not have to face persecution, to be totally frank.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of hard things in life, and yet the blessing that goes along with it is the most beautiful thing. And so knowing that even in the midst of persecution, we can still have this sort of deep, I don't like the word, it is joy, but deep joy, and joy as in satisfaction.
Or contentment, maybe.
Contentment in knowing that you're doing what God is calling you to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't take it away, even though the second half of the Beatitude says, rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. Okay, so that feels hard to me.
Yeah.
And yet, Stephen, as they are like putting him on trial, he is full of the Holy Spirit. He literally looks up to heaven and says, I see heaven open and the Son of Man standing at the right hand of God. So he is experiencing God's presence in the most like clear way. And they take him out and stone him and kill him. And as they're stoning him, he's praying to the Lord. Like, so he could actually rejoice and be glad. And I think, oh man, like that feels far-fetched for me, except it just isn't a world that we necessarily live in. So, but I think there is still a way to say to a student who experienced that kind of sort of persecution at school, or, a spouse who maybe isn't going to do this shifty deal that someone wants them to do.
Yeah.
You know what, guy, like, you know what, son or daughter, or you know what, spouse, like, this is okay. It's okay that it's going this way, because this is actually what we are to expect as followers of Jesus. Yeah. Which, like, no one is celebrating that in terms of great, I'm glad, except that is it like a bad, like I feel like if no one ever recognized that I was following Jesus because I was living different, that would be really sad.
Yeah. So
as a badge of honor to be identified as someone who is following Jesus, am I willing to?
And you know what? There is a blessing too in not having that yucky feeling of having done something negative, right? Like, like you've made mistakes, I'm certain, as have I.
Oh,
and
glory.
You know, after you do something and you shouldn't do it, and you're like, you just feel yucky after.
Absolutely. So, or if I didn't take the opportunity to stand up for someone when they should have been stood up for, if I did, like all of those things, it is because the conscience and our Holy Spirit is saying, okay, Renee, that wasn't the right way. Like, let's, next time we're going to do it this way. And so to experience his presence, the Lord's presence in our life. I think of John 16, it says, in this world you will have trouble.
Yes.
It's like not on my top favorite verses. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Like, so take heart in the end, like the Lord's presence with us now and his promise of heaven in eternity is the blessing. It's the sort of the closing out blessing of this whole series.
Yeah.
Rejoice and be glad, because God is with us. Our reward is in heaven. Other people were also persecuted.
Yep.
We're not alone. We're certainly not alone. If you read through the Old Testament, man, the Old Testament prophets were just, many of them killed, but persecuted in a variety of ways. And we read their books, like Jeremiah and Isaiah and Ezekiel and Amos, and we see the amazing ways that they impacted the world that they were in, and they were not treated any better. And so as we experience suffering for Christ, as all of these people before us did, the great cloud of witnesses also experienced suffering for Christ. So to feel that there is a blessing in that, I think is a great mind shift. So I'm thinking back to the people who, like at the very beginning of the series, I said, the people who were hearing this sermon were people who were already oppressed, people who were not the successful standouts in culture, in society. These people were already probably experiencing all sorts of persecution, for sure oppression, probably insults for not being whatever, cream of the crop or whatever you'd want to say. And so they're feeling this blessing probably different than I am. I don't feel oppressed or looked down on in society right now. So I think my perspective probably is not, it's not where these people would have been who were hearing Jesus straight from Jesus' mouth. And so they're hearing, okay, in my position, I'm going to be blessed. Even though these things are unfair, even though these things aren't true that are being said about me, the Lord is with me. I'm being blessed now, and I will be blessed in eternity with the reward in heaven. Trying to have that sort of that perspective that is not the here and now, like the big picture perspective. Yep. Which I find hard to do often. I can get stuck right here, right? Yep. Like in the weeds. But I think that's they understood. Mm-hmm. This is this huge blessing in the midst of what we are facing right now, because that's who the hearers were. They were facing it right now. And in my seat, in your seat, we live in a country where, everything is not for Christianity here. No. 100% it's not. But it is also full of freedom to express our faith. We're on the airwaves. We're not on the radio. Sorry. Wow. We're on the airwaves, guys. And we're allowed to publicly, preach on Sunday morning and have that go out into the internet world, not the airwaves, and we can do that freely. Yes. And we're not afraid that someone's going to come and bang the door down of the church and take us all to jail.
We're not meeting in secret to avoid being arrested. Right. Yeah.
And so we are sitting in a much easier place than the people who were first hearing these Beatitudes. And so I think that's probably why it's harder for me to say, I don't want to be blessed for that. That's really tough. Yeah. I'd rather be meek or a peacemaker. This seems really, really difficult. But for the people hearing it, it would have been right where they were at. Mm-hmm. And it would have just been a massive encouragement for them to live out the rest of the Sermon on the Mount. Mm-hmm. And so when they were called to do things that were difficult and hard and countercultural, it would have been easier for them to do that. So right after this Beatitudes introduction, which sets up the whole Sermon on the Mount, is you are the salt of the earth. You are different. You're a city on a hill. You're a light on a hill. You are different. You are set apart. And over and over and over again, Jesus throughout the rest of the Sermon on the Mount will say, you remember back in the Old Testament, in the olden days, when this was the rule. Yep. I say we're going to take it way, way further. So back in the olden days, you weren't supposed to murder. But now I'm going to tell you, you're not even supposed to be angry at your brother or sister. Mm-hmm. You got to be so fully set in the Beatitudes in order to take in and live out the rest of the Sermon on the Mount. And so this has been a good 10 weeks. At first I was like, oh yeah, the Beatitudes, I know them. Yeah. Right? We as kids, we memorize that. Yeah, the Beatitudes, sure, we know what that is. But man, looking at them one by one and studying them deeply has shown me the areas that God still has much, much room to work in my life. And I think that's it's a gift and it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. It's been a fun challenge to sort of memorize along with the congregation. Yes. My water bottle sticker is helping me. Yes. There's still a few left I saw out there.
Oh, good. Well, grab them on Sunday. They're at the welcome desk.
Get a new water bottle for school. Come get a new sticker. Yes. And it will just help keep that sort of top of mind. This is sort of the setup for how Jesus is calling us to live, really, in our whole life, is these Beatitudes. So I hope that people have been inspired this summer. Yeah. To sort of think longer about things. Oh yeah, we know that. To think longer, and to see where God is saying, "Hey, Renee, your heart is not pure in heart. Your heart is pure in self. Sometimes, how are we going to work on adjusting that? How are we going to work towards being more of a peacemaker instead of whatever, or more meek instead of just being like a bull in a china shop, And so, how has God over the summer, challenged each one of you who are listening and each one of us to live more like him and to be more like him, so that the world can see him in us.
It's a good challenge. Thank you, Pastor Renee. So this wraps up our Beatitudes series. And can you tell us a bit about what we're looking forward to next time?
Oh, yes. We are entering into 1st and 2nd Peter. And we try to do book studies in the midst of sort of topical areas. And so we are learning lessons from the rock.
Yes.
Don't be thinking it's the one rock you might be thinking of, the popular rock on Instagram or whatever. But lessons from the rock, looking at our firm foundation as followers of Jesus. And Peter the rock.
Yes.
There's lots of really good things there we're going to learn. So
excellent.
Come on out.
Thank you, Renee. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday, September 7th. That is our kickoff Sunday. We are back to more of a regular programming.
Yes.
So the service is still at 10 a.m. and kids programming will run all the way from 10 until 12. So the kids will be dismissed partway through for Kids Corner. And following the service on September the 7th, we'll have our praise and prayer class during breakout at 11:15. So we'll get to catch up with each other and hear how God has been working in our community over the summer. And that's always a nice,
great to be back
great
together.
time of testimony. And so we look forward to seeing you then. If you'd like to get in touch with Pastor Renee, you can reach her at renee@waynefleetbic.com, and my email address is julie@waynefleetbic.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great week.